I recently discovered a huge treasure trove of images from my dad's Super 8 film collection. These magical moments have inspired me to share my dad's extraordinary story and his unique outlook on life.
Life is like a mosaic. All beautiful colors represent experiences. If something good happened, you put it in a bright color. If something bad happened to you, you put it in a black color. To understand the life of a person, you have to understand the mosaic that the person was exposed to.
It was the summer of 1941, and Jack Brauns feared for his life. A government car was waiting to whisk the family to safety, but Jack's father, Dr. Moses Brauns, director of the Contagious Disease Department in the hospital, would not abandon his patients. He felt it was his obligation to stay with them. It was his integrity. Jack and his younger brother Harry counted the 24 steps that would have brought the family to freedom. Disappointed, Jack resented his father's decision for years to come. Our lives are not determined by what happens to us, but by how we react to what happens. Not by what life brings to us, but by the attitude we bring to life.
My name is Alicia Brauns, and from as early as I can remember, my dad always had a camera in his hand. My two older sisters and I did not always like being filmed, but we accepted it. Dad always said, happy memories are the one thing no one can take away from you. Jack Brauns came to this country from Lithuania, and in 1956, he fell in love with my mom.
You cast a spell on me. I was blind, but now I see. You work your magic. That's the key.
He told me that his wedding day was the day he finally felt he had returned to normal life. It was only later that I understood what he meant. I understood education was a key to my dad's success. My parents sent me to TASIS, the American school in Switzerland, for my last 2 years of high school. I learned a lot about life and cultures, but I never realized how much I did not know, especially about my dad. TASIS gave me the opportunity to travel during school breaks with my fellow students who became my family forever. I carried my own camera when the school took my class on a trip to Germany into Dachau concentration camp, where I saw unshakable photos of haunting torture. In 1982, a TASIS trip to Russia inspired my mom to take me alone to trace my dad's roots. I felt myself go back in time as I felt the fear, sadness, and restraint of the people stuck under the communist regime. We met many people who took us to the places where my father lived, secret places, artists' homes, and underground theater classes. We went beyond the tourist attractions to see the wounds that were still fresh under communist rule. The signs of the war and my father's past were still evident. My dad had a happy childhood, but that came to an end when his country was invaded. For 3 years, he was confined to the ghetto in humiliating conditions and then forced into a deportation train to Dachau.
The train stopped at Stutthof concentration camp, where for the first time in his life, Jack saw men who looked like walking skeletons. One approached Jack and told him not to be afraid, but remember his warning. Do not trade your food for cigarettes and become like me. Forced back inside the cattle car, Jack dreamed of the muscle men, walking skeletons, chanting their message around him. When he awoke, he remembered a book that taught him, you are the master of your destiny. This book became one of the keys to his survival.
Glück haben ist Übungssache. You are the master of your own destiny. And I say to myself, even if I am going into a concentration camp, I'll fight all I can not to become a muscle man. And I did that.
After surviving a year in Dachau, he escaped onto the roof of a train heading to Budapest.
Jack was very traumatized. He was trapped with no way out. He was a skeleton with skin.
Bill and my dad crossed the Alps on foot to pursue their dreams of becoming physicians. In Italy, they joined Paul Galeras to find sponsorship and create Casa dello Studente, a unique home for opportunity.
The students were all survivors. Nobody talked about what happened to him during those terrible years.
These were people that were highly motivated, deeply inspired.
I was so thirsty for knowledge. I was so happy to be able to study.
It was a blessing for us, and all 50 graduated.
My dad and his new friends immigrated to the United States and began their medical practices. As a surgeon, my dad's unique philosophy had a great impact on his patients.
Mental attitude of a patient is the key of survival.
When he retired, he wrote a book to share his personal story and speaks about how human kindness can shine through even in the darkest of places. When my dad requested to go back to Dachau, I did not want to go. I still feel fear from the darkness that lies there. But I just couldn't refuse when he explained his mission to tell his story from original locations so no one could deny his truth, to reveal the light from the darkness, and to bring his journey full circle.
By being here in these bunkers, I remember the bunkers. I was in Dachau in the camp in 1944. Seeing the past and benefit from it is very important.
After everything that he went through, one would expect that Jack Brauns would be bitter, angry, vengeful. But he's not. He's open, he's caring, he's loving, and he leads by example.
He can visit all the places where the horror happened, where he was involved, and he still can remember, but how he sees the beautiful side of how things have changed.
I can't understand why there is no anger.
I went to my mom and said, go and meet the survivors. They don't accuse you, they don't say you're guilty. They want to become friends, they want to talk to you.
You cannot be blamed for what somebody else did, even if it's your family. And Jack is very clear about that.
My parents tell me about the concentration camp of Dachau, of Auschwitz, but they don't tell me anything about what happened in this time in Landsberg.
I had never been to the subcamps of Dachau, where my dad desperately uncovered his keys to survival. These camps in Kaufering and Landsberg were much worse than the main camp of Dachau.
When I was in Kaufering, Landsberg, people were working and dying, and it brought new people in all the time, replacement.
Das ist ein Vernichtungslager, Vernichtung durch Arbeit.
It was a death sentence to just work for that place. In a concentration camp, you were an animal. You were subdued. There was no crying, no laughing.
I played in the concentration camp number 7 as a child, but I was not aware that this was a concentration camp.
Reflecting on what the Holocaust was, and with all of its darkness, one thing for certain is Jack Brauns has brought colour out of what otherwise would be real darkness.
You realize what happened here. We can't forget this.
A positive attitude causes a chain reaction of positive thoughts, events, and outcomes. It is a catalyst, a spark that creates extraordinary results.
Try to paint your mosaic with as many colors as possible.